Homelessness is defined as sleeping in places not meant for human habitation. Most people without homes either sleep outside, in their cars, or in homeless shelters. I think we can all agree that sleeping outside or in your car are not places meant for human habitation. But I'm going to argue that most of our traditional homeless shelters are also not places meant for human habitation. Brain research shows us that the kinds of shelters most of our communities have actually make it harder for the people who stay there to get out of homelessness. To understand why this is, let's take a look at some brain science, which helps us understand what goes on in the brain when someone experiences something as stressful as homelessness. You see, when anyone's brain is exposed to any stress, the brain releases chemicals to help us get through that stress. If it's positive, motivating stress like buying a new home or finals week at school, the brain releases chemicals that promote emotional regulation, critical thinking, and logical thought, all very good things that get you through stress. But when it's negative stress, the brain releases different chemicals that put you into what I call survival mode, because it focuses on making sure you just survive whatever stress you're confronted with. When you're in survival mode, the chemical reaction turns off your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that's responsible for all of our uniquely human brain functions. Things like critical thinking and comprehension, logic and rationality. You don't have these things available to you in survival mode because your prefrontal cortex is unplugged and offline. Even if you tried really hard, this chemical reaction would prevent you from bringing it back online. You're left in survival mode, the fight, flight, or freeze system that leaves you on high alert, ready for danger. Survival mode is really helpful, say when you're in the wild and you see a lion. Survival mode helps you get ready to fight that lion or run away from that lion to protect yourself and save your life. But survival mode is also triggered in response to stress like domestic violence and homelessness. Losing your home causes you to have the same brain reaction that confronting a lion in the wild does. And when you experience homelessness for several weeks, months, or even years, your brain stays in survival mode that whole time. I'm here to share there's a better way to shelter. There's a way to provide shelter that actually helps people get out of survival mode and back into the thinking parts of their brain. And what if I told you the key to getting people out of survival mode was in the walls and the ceiling? That's right, the built environment, the architecture and design of a place can literally change the chemical reaction in the brain, helping you to think logically and understand the world again. That way, you can actually understand and follow the shelter rules, you can benefit from the services that shelter wants to provide, and you can make the kinds of change you want to see in your life. A better way to shelter. Trauma-informed shelters are beautiful places that make you feel good when you walk in. They build dignity and restore power. They have room for flexible spaces where tots, teens, pets, and adults can all be themselves. The trauma-informed design features the color palette of the ocean, blues, greens, and turquoises with little color contrast. We feature round forms and curved spaces that bring a sense of uplift and positivity. There's privacy and solitude if desired, but there's also space to be in community and build relationships. There's a strong sense of abundance and a connection to nature through natural plants, woods, and natural materials. These design elements create an environment where just by being in the physical shelter building, people start to have more access to the logical thinking part of their brain. So what if we stopped designing shelters as rows of cots on the floor, which we know put people in survival mode and lead to negative health outcomes and can eventually result in death, and started designing shelters using trauma-informed design and architecture?